Hello everyone! Welcome to another What I Would Have Done Thursday, and today I thought it would be interesting for this particular video to discuss a chick flick. Now, I discuss chick flicks more generally speaking in my last Thursday video where I discussed something bad. And this is one of those chick flicks that I consider to be in the more bad or low quality category. It's not, I think, as horrible as maybe some people make it out to be, but at the same time, I still feel like that there could have been some improvements made to make it a whole lot more fun and I think a whole lot more entertaining. And that film is Mamma Mia, so let's get started. Now, the interesting thing about Mamma Mia is that they would consider musicals like this jukebox musicals because they use one particular artist or various artists that already exist and incorporate their music into the movie, similar to what Moulin Rouge did, except Moulin Rouge actually kind of made their own song and own interpretation when it came to the songs, whereas basically Mamma Mia is copy and paste of ABBA songs. But in case you are unfamiliar with ABBA, they are I guess you could consider them a disco group from the 70s primarily speaking. And they've largely had their songs be more marketable for women, in particular older women, since 70s was a while ago. So it only makes sense that the film would try to put that in there somehow, which you will see if you choose to watch the film. But the way it executes the ABBA songs are one of the biggest downfallings of the film, because a lot of the songs don't ultimately amount to what is really going on or really further the story. See, what a good musical does with already with songs that already have an existence and an artist and maybe various interpretations to them, what they do is they take their own take of it, and in doing so try to apply it to a storyline, since this is primarily a musical. But with Mamma Mia, they don't do that. They just kind of copy and paste it to wherever they think it will fit, and ultimately that doesn't really work to, I think, the story's advantage. And results, the songs seem kind of just coming out of nowhere, don't have a huge amount of sense to them as far as to what's going on within the film. So yeah, that's, I think, something that definitely was lacking. Unlike other musicals like Moulin Rouge, they actually made the songs fit with the storyline and provide some great insight, actually, I think, too. Even though the nostalgia critic probably is going to, make another rant about Moulin Rouge. But to be honest, I don't think that film's as bad, again, as he makes it out to be. But regardless, they knew how to execute the songs within this film. But Mamma Mia, I don't think, did that all too well with ABBA's songs. But a lot of the songs, I think, definitely could have fit with what was going on. It's just that there's not a whole lot of effort put into the story. So, again, there's probably a lot that's within the music that's hard to really work with. And there's not a whole lot of creativity that comes out of it. So I think definitely had they focused on trying to make the musical numbers connect more to the story, we would have maybe had more of a connection to them. And I think that they too should make them largely more based within character development, instead of just putting them on for the sake of putting them on, because we need another musical number here. So yeah, I worked if the story was a lot more stronger, and in doing so, making the story stronger, you fit in the ABBA music so that it feels like it flows and is sort of consistent to what's going on. I thought the whole three-father angle thing that they had in this movie was probably one of the weirdest scenarios I think I've ever heard of in a chick flick. One of the weirdest. Again, there's a lot of weird things that happen in chick flicks, but the whole possible three daddies angle I find to be very strange, awkward. They try to make such light out of it when really, I mean, to make light of something that kind of on that level of seriousness to me was just it was kind of degrading in a way. I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like it was a good direction for the plot, because even though the fathers are given some level of personality, I just find this whole scenario just too awkward, too strange, and again, doesn't really fit. And even at the end, she doesn't really figure out who her real dad is, and then they just go with this, oh yeah, we'll be I guess somehow politically correct here and give one third of a father for her, so that she has three dads. And to me, that's just the weirdest, bizarrest compromise that I think I've ever seen in a movie. Yeah, there's no such thing as biology. There's no such thing as you have one dad. It's like you can have three dads because that's cool, and that's how we should promote the family unit. Like, it was just, I thought that was just really stupid. So yeah, I think the three fathers angle, I would have dropped it. Like, I would have dropped it on the table. Like, that scenario just doesn't work. It makes the story more awkward. It doesn't provide anything really all that funny at the end of the day. And the only good thing about the dads being there is that they kind of have a little bit of a personality. But that's really it. That's really, really it. And to me, it definitely makes it for a very strange story. And how she was able to access them and get all their contact information and be able to find them is still beyond me, since it was years and years ago since she was made. And the fact that they would all like show up, or that they would all even get a message, or even be convinced, oh yeah, there's this one letter of this random person who wrote me who apparently tells me I'm her daughter. Yeah, I'll definitely go on an excursion and find out where she is. Not like, I probably should call and be like, hi, yeah, you're claiming to be my daughter. I mean, it's just so nonsensical to me. So yeah, I think the three fathers thing could have just been X'd out. Now, the plot that I would have replaced this movie with, what I think would have been a little bit more concise, and it wouldn't be as strange or bizarre, and I think it would actually provide a more kind of more down-to-earth conclusion here, as opposed to 1/3 of a dad. I'm sorry, but basically what I would have done is I would have had, let's just say, Meryl Streep's daughter, in this case Sophie, I think is her name, is getting married, and the boy that she's marrying's father is a ex-boyfriend of Meryl Streep. Now again, I think this is a lot more plausible than having 3 potential baby daddies. I'm just saying. And then having them all come on your island and be a part of your wedding. To me, this seems a little bit more plausible in the grander scheme of things, to be honest. Usually people know who their father is. That's not really a mystery, but apparently they wanted to make it a mystery in this movie, which I thought was stupid. So yeah, I definitely would have replaced it with that kind of an angle because, again, it makes the family dynamics more concise. And again, you can get a lot of little funny bits and sort of awkward bits too, where, Meryl Streep, on the one hand, she wants to support her daughter, but at the same time, she maybe sees some of the things that her son inherited from her ex-boyfriend and she doesn't like that, or something like that you would understand where she would be coming from as a character. And then you could totally see it through the dad's perspective and think, hey, there's some things in that girl that I don't like about that remind me of Meryl Streep. So, yeah, I mean, you could have totally had that kind of a dynamic, and it would have, I think, been a lot more funnier. And it ultimately would have allowed, I think, a lot more conciseness and a good amount of character development, as opposed to having 3 potential dads on top of a fiance and on top of Meryl Streep and everybody else. Why not just have it be 4 people? The daughter, the mother, the father, and the son. And that just be the story, and then it focuses on them. So and then you would have probably gotten a lot more out of it. And you could probably go even into how they kind of meet up, and then eventually the future son-in-law proposes, and Meryl Streep probably doesn't really want to tell her daughter, yeah, this person was someone who I was involved with before, the father of the son that's marrying Meryl Streep's daughter. So yeah, there could have been a lot of like interchangeable, interesting things that could have come out of a plot like that, I think, as opposed to let's find out who the real dad is, even though we don't really find that out in the end. And even at the end, there's not really even a real wedding. Instead, we have to insert a wedding that really wasn't planned, in there. And yeah, it's just, that just doesn't work. Just make it simpler. The simpler you are, the better off you are. And I think had they just narrowed it down to just these 4 people, we would have had something better. And then maybe you could have Meryl Streep have a husband and then the other guy have a wife or something. And, they ultimately all work things out somehow. And it'd be interesting to see how they do that. As opposed to, okay, who is Sophie's dad now? Is it this dude or that dude or this man? So yeah, I mean, that's just, I just think that serves more of an interesting plot, as opposed to, I think just the whole family dynamics is a lot more interesting than figuring out who is the biological father of the main character, since clearly they make it seem like, oh, it's so happy and bright, when really in real life that would be a very awkward situation and a very awkward conversation to have. So yeah, I think doing it in that grounded sense of having these kinds of little troubles and problems, and having these little dynamics in there of the parents maybe not getting so much along, maybe like maybe some funny bits with the side characters, maybe uncles, aunts, or something like that. Make it feel like we're going to see a wedding, not like where we're going to see a wedding on TV, which is kind of what Mamma Mia as a film does. So yeah, I think that would have worked better. Just keep the families in an intact place. Don't try to insert people into the family that only end up we ultimately don't even ever just discovering if they are really part of the family. Just keep it simple, don't complicate it. That's, I think, the best thing I can say for this plot, and I think had they did that in the way that I said it, it would have served the story a lot better. And the thing about chick flicks too is the funny department sometimes I think can work. I mean, I'm not the person who thinks that all comedy should be based within misery, unlike the nostalgia critic. I think there's different kinds of humor. There's, the ridiculous humor, there's the surreal humor, there's the the outlandish humor. I don't think purely, causing pain and causing, you know, um, harsh. I don't think harshness alone should represent everything that is comedic. I think there are tons of different avenues comedy can go into to be funny. It doesn't need to be serious and have this very, you know, you know, pain-ridden, approach. I think. Again, all the more reason I don't think. Again, I do like Tom and Jerry, but the reason why I don't like them as much is again that's all their comedy is based on. Tom getting hit with a pan. Jerry getting getting hurt somehow. Those dynamics, they're funny, but they're so repetitive and they're so, after a while you just kind of get nauseated and hurt while watching it. At least that's how I feel when I personally watch too much of Tom and Jerry. I think they're enjoyable only for a certain amount of time. Again, like, you can't really appreciate their comedy unless you view it just a couple of times as opposed to viewing it over and over again. And I don't think Mamma Mia's humor needed to be mean-spirited. I don't think it needed to be, I don't think it needed to be overly, it didn't need to be the haha pain, look how it's funny because it's painful and it reflects something in reality. I don't think humor always needs to go that route. I think there are different things that you can do with humor to make things funny. You don't need to make it all based around misery or pain. You can make it a little crazy. You can make it ridiculous. The problem I think that Mamma Mia has with its comedy is that it doesn't try to make comedy. So much as it tries to insert laughing and then expects the audience to laugh. Again, and not so much, again, because there's no, like, back applause where people are laughing, but, they'll make the characters laugh, like Meryl Streep, and then all of a sudden, you should laugh because they're laughing. That, I think, was the huge problem with Mamma Mia. It didn't create the laughter, it just, it just tried to it just tried to replace what was supposed to be laughter with just laughing and not really actually being funny. But again, I think there are some moments that are actually kind of clever, like when Meryl Streep discovers them and she's imagining what they looked like in the past. I thought that was actually genuinely funny. And again, it wasn't based on anything that was, mean-spirited or, like, ooh, she's looking at how horrible they were. She was just remembering how goofy and kind of crazy, they looked way back in the day. And it had nothing to do with being miserable. I mean, comedy doesn't have to be miserable all the time. I mean, I don't get why, and sometimes I can't stand comedies that go on to the misery route sometimes. Um, like there's sometimes where I'll be sitting and listening to Bill Burr and I just want to like turn it off and just even though he's one of my favorite comedians, I just want to turn it off because I don't want to hear constant negative ha ha ha, let's laugh at how, how miserable and how horrible and blah blah blah, we are. Sometimes I don't like hearing that. And sometimes I don't think a lot of it is really based in reality. It's just an over exaggeration of what reality is. Um, so yeah, I think that's just something that I noticed through Mamma Mia was just that it was designed on making you think something funny was happening when really there wasn't. It was just people laughing within the film. Um, and last but certainly not least, the singing department. Ooh, yes, this needed to be, I think, improved significantly. Pierce Brosnan, um, I would say has probably less oomph in his voice as Russell Crowe. At least with Russell Crowe, he says, "And I'm jumping." At least he tries to enunciate the words. But with Pierce Brosnan, it's like, it's pretty funny. I laugh sometimes. It's just kind of crazy. But I understand because these actors are really built for singing. Like they haven't really had the training or the capacity to um, be capable of pulling off the musical numbers. And I totally understand that. I just don't get why they didn't pick some other actors to do these roles. I don't understand. Is it just because of the look? Like, is that the reason? Is is that the real reason why the that you know this movie is the way it is? Yeah, so I think had they chosen different actors and actresses, we would have probably gotten a stronger product as far as music is concerned. Um, I think they definitely needed to look over the actors a lot more closely and see who would be willing to do the performances and really like test people out and have, go through a list of actors and actresses who have a sort of a little bit of a singing background that are maybe a little bit well known, and then you would have probably had something that was a little bit stronger as far as singing goes. So yeah, but those are really all of the topics that I think uh, I wanted to address when it comes to what I would have done with this particular film. Um, but yeah, basically, had they, just scrapped the plot, inserted the music when appropriate, had they tried to be a little bit more comedic and maybe go for maybe a little bit more of a ridiculous humor and an ironic humor, then yeah, that probably would have worked out better. Um, and had their singing been done by other actors and actresses, and maybe the performances done by different actors and actresses, we would have gotten something I think ultimately better. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about Mamma Mia. I mean, it's pretty straightforward and standard for a film that it is. I mean, literally, in a nutshell, it's just about this girl who's going to get married, but then wants to find out who her actual biological father is. She sends 3 notes again to the fathers, and they all show up, and then her mom is involved, and it's one big fiasco, and very crazy, and just yeah. You can already tell by the plot of this movie, it's really not all that strong of a story. So yeah, that's really the hugest problem I think with Mamma Mia, because I think ultimately everything would have fallen more into place had they focused more on trying to create something a little bit more original and not try to overcomplicate it with inserting 3 potential dads. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, be more than happy to answer them. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.